Greetings, infinite blessings, and welcome to another episode of Midday Mindfulness. I am your host, Kain Stromberg, the Cosmic Surfer, and it is my honour, privilege, passion and purpose to inspire you to empower yourself. We are only ever able to achieve that in life that we believe possible. And through the re-education of yourself, using tips, tricks and techniques that I will deliver to you, you will be able to align yourself with your true self to then be able to experience your greatest life. In truth, you are perfect now, as you exist as you do. You're always perfect, and you always have been. Yet it depends on which version of perfection that you wish to experience going forward. And the choices that you make now will decide the life which you live going forward. Past events, situations, relationships, and experiences have led you to become the person you are today. All of the beliefs, all of the programs, all of the behaviors which you have embodied, which you act out, they are a result of past experiences. You are not your past. You are not your behaviors. You are not the experiences that you have experienced, that have taken place to you. You are the being of infinite potential, and it is up to you which life you live going forward. In the past, not knowing that you had control over your thoughts, as an example, means that you were limited to be able to change those thoughts. By learning that you have control, it allows you to then go about making mindful choices about which path to take going forwards. There is always two ways. There is always two sides. There is always the yin and the yang, the day and the night, love and the separation of it, which the closest vibrational match would be fear. Yet in truth, they're all part of the same one thing. Love and fear are just emotional states. They are feeling states. There's an experience to feel all emotions. The day and the night create one cycle, one whole day. The two sides of the coin, although they are separate, collectively create that coin. If it did not have two sides, it would not be the coin. Yet it is one coin. The two sides are part of the same thing. So today, leading on from last week, I'm going to be bringing on another guest, as we are actually going to start having weekly guests on the show and discussing whatever topic is most relevant to the guest that has been guided towards or chosen by either yourselves or myself. So if there is anybody that you would like on the show, then please let me know and I will reach out to them and make contact and get them on the show. In a few weeks, probably be about a month's time, we're going to have somebody on, Nicholas, who teaches non-duality. I live the non-duality concept, but I cannot teach in a non-dualistic way because, as I said, the coin has two sides. And that is the way that most people understand it. It is one single coin. We are one single being. We are all the universe experiencing itself. We are energy in motion. Everything in existence is energy vibrating at different frequencies, and it does so in waveform. Once again, that is why we surf upon those waves, cosmically surfing. Now and forever, you and I, my friends, we are in this together, surfing those waves of existence. If you go under, the waves can crash upon you, keeping you there. Surfing upon them means that the ups and downs become joyful, part of the experience, part of the journey, just as a roller coaster ride has ups and downs, just as a game of snakes and ladders. Without the ups and downs, it loses the element of surprise, the element of excitement, the element of fun. It's not knowing what is round the next bend which makes life exciting. If you knew what was going to happen in every moment, what would be the point in continuing down that path? So, relationships is going to be today's topic of conversation. Relationships in a broad sense, and then specifically we're going to discuss narcissistic tendencies within people, within the collective, and the fact that, as I was shown, is acceptance of all elements, all aspects of the self, which then allows for acceptance of all aspects of the collective. Within me exists everything in entirety. I have within me the ability to perform the most beautiful acts of love and compassion and kindness, and also the most sadistic acts of hatred. If it exists outside me, it has the potential to exist within. If you can imagine it so, you can almost guarantee that somebody else has not only imagined it, but actually experienced it. This used to actually affect me very, very deeply. And any time that I would embody somebody else's pain, being empathetic, so those of you listening that feel other people's pain highly, as I'm sure some of you are aware, that you're highly empathetic, you're highly attuned to other people's energies. If you are not aware, then look up the term empath. It would ground me, it would put me on my knees, cripple me. And there I'd be useless to anybody. And it's the same with the repression and the system of divide and conquer that we are currently being shown in the most grandest of schemes. Divide everybody through fear, put them in their little bubbles, cover their faces so that they are unable to express themselves freely or truthfully. And that way we can govern them with an iron fist. Keep them as just another cog in the wheel. Keep that machine moving, that machine of greed, the production wheel of modern day living. But we are here to change this. The reason that they are trying so desperately to keep us repressed is because on a global scale we are awakening. We are connecting back to who we are. And within our lifetime, there will be no need for a government which rules over us, as we will rule over ourselves. Self-governed, living in a world of true equality for all. That is the vision for future that I am working towards creating in every moment of now. And this moment of now, in particular, is a beautiful one, as each and every moment of now is, if only we can actually stop and allow for that experience to be seen as such. So before I bring on Diana, who is a soul coach, a life coach, a Reiki master practitioner, and is actually the latest family member on the Mainstream Meditation YouTube channel. Last week was the release of her first guided meditation, and I strongly suggest that if you have not done so, not only that you subscribe to the Kosmic Surfer YouTube channel, but you head over to Mainstream Meditation, as there is myself and Diana that now produce, release weekly guided meditations for all topic of issues or situations. Motivational, inspirational, educational, and now meditation, all topics. So again, if there is any particular topic that you would like created, please drop either one of us a message, Kosmic Surfer on all socials once again, and we will create as and when we are able that which is specifically for you, as we are here to inspire you, to empower yourself, as always. So going back to the fact that everything is energy, Every relationship we have is an energy exchange. Look at it as though when you have a conversation with somebody, as we discussed last week, there are two types of people, taps and drains. People will just take from you, draining you, or they will give back to you, feeding you. If you have a positive conversation with somebody, if you're both focused on one another, then you are bouncing back that energy between yourselves. You are bringing in energy from the universe around you, flowing it through you and directing it to your friend. And your friend is doing the same in reverse, mirroring each other. You are both filling each other up. The conversation is uplifting and joyful. If somebody tries to put you down and repress you, it can be likened to, instead of them attaching a hose to you to fill you up, that they are actually attaching some form of drainage system to you, like a hoover, that they are attaching to you and actually draining that energy out of you. If somebody shouts at you, tells you off, represses you, bullies you, undermines you, or makes you feel lacking or limited in some form, then they are stealing from you, taking your energy from you. You feel drained, limited, and unable to find positivity in not only the situation, but life around you. And think about this for a moment. If somebody wronged you 2 months ago, two years ago, 20 years ago, some people still carry things with them. 20 years ago, somebody wronged you. And you think about that wrong, and you become negatively affected by it. You are still being drained by them. In truth, you are choosing to send your energy to them, because we can get to a point where we are so protected in our energy body, as I have created on YouTube, pillar of protected white light information, and also how to actually go about cutting these energy cords that attach you to all previous people in the past as well as situations. By cutting your energy connection from the past, you free yourself from that past event, that past situation, or the relationship with that person in that specific or particular way. When you are born, you depend on your parents for your very survival. They are there to protect you, to nurture you, to educate you, to raise you. You develop a relationship, exchange with them, which is that of a child. You are less than them. You give to them and they give something back. You gain from them information and wisdom and affection in exchange for delivering whatever it is that they demand of you or ask of you when they do. Otherwise you are told off and scolded. This is also being changed, the way we educate our children. The way that I educate my children is far from this, but there are still many that do. If you carry that exchange with you all the way through life, you will always be seeking your parents' approval. You will always be reverted back to that scolded child whenever they speak to you in a certain way. You will feel less than, limited, lacking, wanting and struggling to break free from their repression, their view of you and your requirement for their approval. By cutting these energetic connections, you free yourself. Then you create new energetic connections that you do so mindfully, creating boundaries. And in these boundaries, you ask yourself 3 things every time that you give something, because every exchange must be neutral or mutually beneficial. If somebody's only ever going to take from you, it's time to cut them off. It's time to get rid of those drains and spend time around fellow taps that will fill you up and allow you to fill them up in exchange as we continue to uplift each other. As united we stand, and together we rise. Simple, right? So upon cutting these cords and then connecting new ones, and again, this is all on YouTube, step-by-step guided meditations and guided techniques to actually use. And I strongly suggest that if you feel limited or lacking in any way, or controlled by another person in a situation or event or something they did to you, some way they wronged you in the past, go do this meditation now. Pause this podcast, pause this radio show, and actually go over to YouTube and take it now. Do it now. and then come back and listen to the rest of this later. And in saying that, this show is now not only released on the radio station, Vibe Select FM, which is released every Wednesday at 12 till 1 British Standard Time, Greenwich Mean Time. It's now also released as a podcast on all social platforms, on all podcast housing platforms, and it is called Midday Mindfulness. Go over, search for Midday Mindfulness, and there you'll have a list of all the podcasts, of all the radio shows. As well as that, I have recorded every show, and I'm continuing to do so. And today we created some editorial aspects to make it more engaging, more exciting, to add that extra layer, as it is always about layers. Music is more uplifting, more engaging, more hypnotic, the more layers it has to it. A beautiful, deep, hypnotic and trance-like meditation is always that much more beneficial when it has a little jingle over the top. So, they'll also all be released on YouTube very soon, as I'm going to start to release a new series of videos, Modern Day Mindfulness, which will be a week by week tips and tricks and techniques series. And then I'm going to release all the radio shows and live interviews and other bits and pieces. So there will now be 3 videos released every week on YouTube on the Kosmic Surfer, and 1 a week on the Mainstream Meditation. So very quickly, back to boundaries before we actually bring on Diana for today's guest. Every time that somebody asks you to do something, it's time to put yourself first now. It's time to stop putting others first, because once again, you are the most important person in the universe, not only in the world, in the universe, because without you, the universe does not exist for you to experience. And in order to put another first, you must first put yourself in that position. Do not give from an empty cup. Do not even give from your cup. Your cup is for you. Overflow yourself by filling yourself up, and overflow to everybody else around you. Or give from the well. Teach others how to gain that energy for themselves from that infinite source that is always around you. That single life force, breath in and out, that pranic life force that enters your body, filling your lungs and surging around your entire being, and breathing out everything and anything which no longer serves you. So the next time that somebody asks you for something and you don't want to do it, just say no. Don't make up an excuse, because you'll be lying to yourself. You never really lie to anybody else. You only ever lie to the self. It's all about the self. If you love yourself, you can love somebody else. If you're honest with yourself, you can be honest with somebody else. So next time somebody asks you for something, there's always those 2 options. Say somebody asks you to go and help them move some furniture. First of all, do you want to go and do it? If the answer is no, just say no. I don't want to come and help you move furniture. Actually, I'm going to go and use my day off to go and walk and spend some time outside in nature, or to create that piece of artwork that I've always longed to do, or to start that poem or that book, or whatever it is, to bake that beautiful cake so that I can enjoy it in the afternoon. I'll bake the cake and I'll bring it round afterwards so we can have a nice cup of tea and cake, but I don't want to come round and hurt my back helping you move some furniture. No, I don't want to. If you do want to, then you move on to the next question. So the first one is, do I want to? Yes or no? No, you say no. Yes, you move to the second question, which is, do I have it to give? So say they ask for your time and energy to go move the sofa. Do you have the time and the energy available to give to them? If the answer is no, I would like to come and help you, but I don't have the time and energy. Then tell them, no, I'm sorry, I don't have that time and energy available to dedicate towards that situation, that event. I'd like to help you, but I'm unable to in this occasion. If the answer is yes, you have it to give, then you move to the third question, or the third concept, the third situational decision. So yes, you want to, yes, you have it. So you do it in a way which is mutually beneficial. Okay, yeah, I can come and help you move your sofa. And actually, I needed somebody to come and give me a hand cutting down some branches on the tree in my garden. I'd love it if you could come round and hold the ladder so that it was stable so I could climb up to cut the branches down that I couldn't reach. So I'll come and help you on Tuesday to move your sofa. And then I'd like for you to come round Sunday afternoon to help me to cut down that tree. And actually, I'll bake the cake and bring it round so that after we've moved the sofa, then we can have some tea and cake. And maybe you can bring something round Sunday. So after we've cut down the bush, maybe we can have a nice refreshing glass of whatever it is together, wine. Bring round some nibbles and we can have a nice picnic in the garden afterwards. Whatever it is, it needs to be mutually beneficial. So I'm now going to bring on Diana and introduce her, and we will start the topic of conversation on energy exchanges in more detail, and specifically in that narcissistic tendency. Because there is different levels of narcissism, there's different levels of selfishness. And I know that I speak always about it needing to be the self first, but it's the self first to then be able to give to everybody else. It's not about shutting everybody else off. And interestingly, the reason that I have experience of this, I spoke to that person again today, and he said, you look after yourself in your little world, don't worry about anybody else. And I was like, well, this is my little world. Planet Earth is my world. So it's everybody on the whole planet. It's not just me and my little bubble. My bubble is around the entire planet, and I do everything that I do because of the entire planet. If it was just me, what's the point? There is no point if it's just the self. You could have a world of absolute luxury with everything you could ever desire, but if you had it only with yourself to experience, then there's not a lot of joy there. But then on the reverse side, you only do ever have the self. You can only ever truly rely on the self. And the most joyful experiences I had with the self. And no, I don't mean that, you dirty bugger. I mean deep trance-like meditations, connecting to the infinite source of all that is, which is love. And that is actually the topic of conversation for the next show. Love. Love being the answer to every question. If you have a question, you're unsure of the answer is love. The deepest level is always love. So give me a moment and I will bring on Diana. It is my absolute privilege to introduce today's guest, Diana Thomas. She is a Reiki master practitioner, a meditation teacher, and women's empowerment coach. Diana, thank you for coming on today's show. And let us know a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Kain. Thank you for having me.
It's an honor. It truly is. So introduce yourself a little. Tell the listeners about yourself, what it is that you do.
My name is Diana Thomas, and I do guided meditations. I am a Reiki practitioner and helping to empower women in relationships, in life in general.
Beautiful. And why is it particularly that you have been guided towards working with women? Obviously, the fact that you are a woman yourself, but I have been myself, although I am the head of a divine masculine movement, I work primarily with women because I have been shown that it's women that will actually change the world. It's the divine feminine that will create the beautiful ability to flow around any obstacle, where the divine masculine will try to always stay in a straight line and bash through things. The feminine will flow around it or under it or find a way that is able to skip over those obstacles of life.
Yes. And I think with women, a lot of them raising children and being married in the home, many times don't have a voice. And so just empowering them to have more of a voice and a place. And
giving back a woman her authority over herself.
right. Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes.
And it
Self-love. Many women, we sacrifice for the children and trying to please and sacrifice and making sure everyone else is happy, and sometimes forget about ourselves.
So would you say that it is a sacrifice, or that it's a choice that you make for a greater good, a bigger picture? Because to raise a child is a privilege, is an honor.
Privilege, yes.
Mm-hmm. I am honored to be able to know my boys, to raise them in the way that I do, to have a connection with them at all. But I did not birth them, I did not hold them. And it is the women that actually are the closest aspects within the human construct to a creator, to a God, because to actually create life, to bring life into this 3D earthly realm, it must be amazing.
Yes, no greater bond. And the men are definitely involved much more today, that's for sure.
Yes. And as you said, no greater bond, knowing that everything that we experience is at its core is just energy vibrating at different frequencies, as we were speaking about moments ago. The connection between a mother and a daughter, or a mother and a son, they're different in the context of relationships. A son will always be more protective over his mother, and a daughter may always have more of a close friendship bond with a mother. But those bonds are ones which will span time and space. The love for your children is probably the closest love that we have for any other person. Would you agree?
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes. And the love of God, and how they're so individual and different, and God made them special with their own abilities and gifts.
Yes.
And I definitely give God the credit, and we're here as guidance.
Beautiful. And would you mind telling us a little bit about your story in actually discovering yourself, and how you went about starting to empower yourself to then be able to empower others? Because so many of us that do the work that are beacons of light, that bring the light to the others, that act as an inspiration for those lost in the darkness. So many of us, if not actually everybody that I have had contact with so far, has themselves been in the darkness. And as I always very openly express, it was going into darkness which was then the start of my journey towards where I am today. Every step that we take is part of the journey, but certain points actually bring a splinter of potential pathways. And there's a there's a decision to be made at certain points. I had the decision to actually stop and just get off this crazy roundabout madhouse of a world, or to actually make it the best it can be in every moment going forward. And I chose that option, which is why I am so grateful to be able to experience it all, because I know how delicate and fragile life is. And especially as a child, we're very delicate, and we require support. And having that from people around us means that quite often we always seek it from outside us. Quite often, if you are self-educated, then you have within you the ability to always be able to connect to that answer, to that truth. And as you said, being able to always ask God for guidance and knowing that God's always with you and God always is guiding you and supporting you. That is something that I never experienced. I never experienced that faith and belief that God had my back, as it were. I didn't believe anybody had my back. I always used to know everything's energy, and I had an understanding of things to a certain degree. Now I believe that I have my own back. So it must be nice to have that core belief in the Lord and God guiding you.
Yes, since a young child, for sure. That's who I lean on, and I couldn't have made it or done it without God in my life, especially being a single mom for so many years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you've taken the time to raise your daughter, but also to then start to create your empire. And as we said, you've just taken a seat as a Reiki practitioner. And I would like to, for a moment, just bring up some information on the screen to allow for everybody to see all the amazing work that you do and where it is that it's all housed.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about my soul journey.
So my soul journey is to share my trauma throughout my life to help others, and to hopefully guide them to come out as well with their truth, and just to feel they have a voice, and that they're worthy and beautiful, and
Worthy of
basically
what?
sharing my truth.
What is it that they're worthy of? What is it that we're all worthy of?
Love, yes.
Love.
Worthy of love.
Beautiful.
Love of self.
Beautiful.
Yeah, knowing there's a lot of love out there, people who care and can relate, been through a lot of the same things.
Amazing. And then West Shore Wellness is where you are practicing Reiki, if I am correct.
Yes, I'll also do private in-home. I can travel as well.
Perfect. Which is something which more and more people are probably being guided towards. Although I would always recommend to everybody to get outside as much as possible, to let go of the feeling of constraint or restriction that the walls that we live within are quite often elevated and escalate those feelings of repression within the mind. To get outside and see an expansive scenery seems to allow for that which is within our head that may feel restrictive to just dissipate and float away.
Yes, nature, God's creations, fresh air.
Perfect.
Absolutely. That's very helpful in self-care for sure. Grounding.
Yes, grounding is something
so important.
Daily.
Mm-hmm.
And talking about healthy living.
Yes, eating well, exercise, getting outside.
And your beautiful Young Living website with all your aromatherapy oils and all of the other products that you sell, all the natural beauty products.
Yes, essential oils has made a huge impact on my life, my family's life, my home. I'm completely toxin-free. Perfect. And have been more healthy than ever the past 7 years since I started.
And then here is the meditation channel, Mainstream Meditation, with this being your first introductory video. It released a few days ago, and many more that I know will be, there's a few more lined up at the moment, and then many more created in future.
Yes. Meditation helped me tremendously. I couldn't do it without prayer and meditation for sure. And I love creating it now. And looking forward to creating some with you.
Yes.
Exciting.
We will. We'll have to do potentially a live. I believe there is the ability to do a joint live on YouTube, so we could do a joint live, and then it uploads directly to the channel, and then it will be there for years to come.
Yes, it's great, beautiful.
So your page that you share your journey on, to then allow for others to resonate with you, to connect to you, and to feel that they're not alone. Would you mind discussing that in a little bit more detail?
Basically, it's sharing different traumas and heartbreak throughout my life, and just knowing that many can relate, and helping them with self-care and techniques and different ways to get through trauma. Ways that have helped me to heal.
What's one of the most simple techniques that you could share with our listeners now that they could potentially use and carry forward and share with somebody that they know to continue to deliver that information in the most expansive way possible?
I would say many of us feel self-care is selfish. So first thing is not to feel selfish, because if you're not loving yourself, you're not happy inside, you're not going to share that and spread that outside. So it's important for all your loved ones, everyone around you. And meditation, breathing techniques, definitely huge, as well as pampering yourself, loving yourself, and healing. Crying if you want to cry, and
beautiful.
Loving that child that you were and that child inside.
Yes.
Knowing it wasn't your fault.
Parenting
and
yourself.
Awareness, being aware. Trying to be aware of different feelings that come up and why you might have those feelings.
Perfect. And would you say that the ability to disattach from the feelings is something that is positive, to know that, okay, I'm experiencing the feelings, but I'm not actually governed by them? Just as though I experience the weather, but I'm not the weather. Just as though I experience pain, but I'm not the pain. Just as I experience feelings, but I'm not the feelings.
Yes. Mindfulness, there's many techniques and so much to learn, where you can observe from a distance instead of being enmeshed in all that, which I used to be. Many people are. They go through depression, and many are on medication and getting enmeshed in your mind or fear or in those emotions. So learning how to be in the present, mindfulness, and like you said, how to detach from that.
Perfect. And as we discussed earlier today, and as I mentioned before I brought you on, the relationship that I have had my entire life that has... So as I discussed last week, there's two types of people, taps and drains. And that was what was leading on to today, to the people that drain us, the people that take from us. And the reason they do is because they have no empathy. They have no desire for a joy of anybody else. It's all about the self. People that are all about the self are classified and put in a category of being narcissistic.
Mm-hmm.
I have had a narcissistic relationship with my father, and only today he phoned me and we spoke about the situation. Actually, COVID come up and the lockdown that is going to be coming very soon. This is being released a week after. So Boris Johnson was doing a speech tonight. I'm unaware of what he said, but I am guaranteeing that there will be minor lockdowns within the half-term period in the UK. And he said, basically, don't worry about it. Don't think about anybody else. You just focus on yourself. You look after you in your little bubble and don't worry about anybody else. And as I said moments ago, I do look after my little bubble. But my little bubble, its circumference is around the entire globe. Everybody is my people. It's not about me. It's not about me and my children. It's not about me and my family. It's about us all. And that is what I'm here to do. And to put myself first means that I can then put others first. But those people that put themselves first to then only ever put themselves first, there is it's easy to see. People can get pulled into it, and especially empaths, because they will see somebody who needs attention, needs energy, and the narcissist will come along and attach little hooks to an empath and then keep them. And the empath will feel the narcissist's pain and give them energy, give them their time freely and willingly, and the narcissistic person in the relationship will drain and take. This is so common for there to be relationships where it is only one-sided, and that will continue to the point where the compromise becomes too great. One person will give and give and give and give until there's nothing left to give, and then they'll break away. So what has been your experience in a similar context with relationships in whatever way that somebody was taking from you and never giving? And you desired, for myself, I desired my father's approval and attention as a child because he was my father, and I'd have given anything for it. And he knew that, and he would give me just enough to keep me scrambling for more.
Breadcrumbs, yes. That's many are not aware that, I think they feel different, but they don't know why. Although there is right and wrong, and they do know right from wrong. And I was very naive to this. I've only learned about this the past few years. And they're very self-absorbed. And as you said, we're givers. So unfortunately, there's takers. And you don't always realize it because you're kind of in a fog, because as far as myself, I just thought everyone was like me and had the heart and soul and empathy that I had. And, they fake it very well. So, and you get confused because, you might subtly hear things and then, but they'll say something else. So, but they purposely try to confuse you. And many times you feel like the crazy one because you're reacting. And, they'll purposely try to trigger. And so, yeah, it's very, they're very self-absorbed. And basically, that's what I want to teach, is how to really trust your intuition, because my intuition was strong. However, I didn't trust it. How to have boundaries is huge, because they will cross the boundaries. And, growing up with a narcissistic parent, single parent, and then not having my dad there, So we're looking for that love, validation, and breadcrumbs seems, like love. And I found myself as many in codependency, and just recently actually breaking that pattern. And but purposely they want you to chase them, pay attention to them, feel above you, so you always are made to feel inferior.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah, they don't want you to shine. They want to be the ones to shine above you, which is, it's difficult on children because myself as a parent, I want to see my kids shine and do better and be above me. So it kind of, crushes the spirit and puts your light out. Yeah.
Yep.
You end up in their darkness. And I myself ended up with traits, and I had to look at that and, have awareness of that. And a lot of research, a lot of learning.
What's the most powerful piece of information that you discovered on your journey to understand what a relationship is that is only taking the term narcissist, to attach that to somebody and to say, okay, I can see actually now that it wasn't me. That when I said that they had upset me and their response was, oh, you're just being soft, or you're being overly emotional, or buck your ideas up, or get a grip, boy, or whatever it is that was the response. Actually, what they did was wrong. But the fact that they turned it back on you and then left you feeling wrong, left you questioning your entire structure of reality. What's the most powerful piece of information you could give to somebody that may be listening, that may be in a relationship that all of this resonates with, and but they're not quite sure? They're thinking, well, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. They show me love. They're there for me sometimes. They do care for me.
Yes, it's a hard pill to swallow when it's the ones that you think or expect that love you the most. And so it's very difficult. And yes, traumatizing. I myself believed that there was something wrong with me, even as a child, my whole life, really, up until recently. I thought it was me. I was too sensitive. I was depressed. I was too quiet, lazy, stupid, all these things that I was told, and I had them on a pedestal. So, and I believed it. And so you believe this lie, basically.
Expectations. You said moments ago about expectations. And in my relationship with everybody, other than myself, actually, to be honest, I still expect far more from me than I will ever be able to deliver. Yeah, everybody else I expect nothing from. I don't expect anything from anybody anymore. And only through not expecting anything from anybody did I come to a place to be able to accept them. I don't expect anything from my dad. He'll be out in about a year's time, and he will be back in the world, as it were, a citizen, and I don't expect anything from him. Not at all. Whatever he does is completely up to him. He's his own man. My relationship with my mother took a massive turn for the benefit once I stopped expecting her to be a way that I wanted or envisioned her to be. Once I accepted her for who she was in completion, our relationship has never been better. Expectations.
You'll be disappointed otherwise. You're setting yourself up for disappointment.
Spot on.
And you need to give that to yourself. Any expectations, you can learn to love and give that to yourself. you know, which also, you know, if I felt happy or on this high, so to speak, I would give the credit to someone else. And it took me time to realize that's my happiness. That was my, you know, whatever I could accomplish, whatever I could do, running a marathon, whatever it might be, giving the credit to another person instead of realizing that that comes from you with or without the person. Really comes from God, and that's all you need. You can't rely on anyone else for happiness and the love that you want except for God and yourself.
Beautiful. And going back to the aspect of God, the creator, my perspective is that there is a creator, scientifically or mathematically, more so mathematically. I didn't used to like the word God because of the repression that I'd always attached to it. I couldn't use the word God until about a year or so ago. There is a God, there is a creator, a prime creator. Everything's consciously created. We are all created by something, by prime creator, by source, by God, and then we create everything we experience. I found God in my awakening, but I didn't find God outside me. I found God within. Exactly. And as you say, it all rests within. The ability to experience happiness is self-generated. Your emotions are felt by you, inside you. Every time that you give somebody else control over them, you are giving away by choice your happiness. As a child, we don't know this. We're not educated into the construct of being able, or we're educated in the construct, we're not educated outside of it. We're not educated to believe that we have within us the potential to not be affected by somebody. If somebody's throwing stones at us, we can get angry and run over and throw stones back or try and run away, or we can just ignore it. And it's learning that we are in charge of our own happiness, that we are in charge of our own life, and ultimately that we're in charge of our own destiny. Yes, all paths lead back to the same place. Yes, all rivers lead back to the ocean. Between being born and dying, we are all going back to one place. If we've left the bosom of heaven to experience life and return to heaven, then life in the middle is just an adventure to experience things that we would otherwise be unable to experience. And it's little things like that that have helped me upon my journey. And as you said, happiness. If most people are so desperately trying to hold on to their own happiness that they're never even going to be able to put any attention or time into holding on to yours. If you put your happiness in another's hands, they're only going to drop it because they're so focused on trying to hold on to their own.
Yeah, well, I think for me, I was more worried about others' happiness, wanting to make them happy, and not myself. That's what I was taught. I was taught, you know, you're there to make me happy, and you don't matter. You don't have a voice. And there was no affection at all from either parent. And I happened to be very affectionate. So you're trying to seek that and find that elsewhere. And so for me, turning to God, knowing that God loves me unconditionally. And I'm a Christian, but God is inside of us. So we have that light inside. We have that power that's inside of us, not outside of us. Perfect. So we have that love and we have that power, and loving and forgiving everyone else, loving unconditionally, having complete forgiveness, realizing that you can make the same mistakes.
I mean,
we all make mistakes. We're all human.
Is there ever any mistake?
As far as no, there really isn't.
Very good.
Right.
So
True. All for learning. And
so knowing that love is always the answer. We spoke about it before. We know that love is always the answer. That within us all, there is that aspect of love. That we are all created equally in the eyes of God, and that God loves us all. Do narcissistic people have the ability to transcend that limitation and return to alignment with their truth, with who they are, back to their heart center, and express and experience life in the same natural state that we do?
I hope so. There's many theories on that. For me, I know with God, anything's possible. I've seen miracles. So I pray and I do hope so. You know, and they were just shamed and or entitled. And so it's not their fault. It wasn't their fault either. Yes, you do know right from wrong, and we have to discern as empaths. We have to be careful, and we have to use our intuitions and have boundaries and we have to be discerning. Otherwise, you know, that can be very traumatic. That can cause a lot of trauma, if not. So.
Yes. It's knowing that we only have so much, although we're infinite, although energy can never be destroyed, only be cleansed, reclaimed, redistributed. So therefore, the energy that is within us, that is us, will live forever. So we live forever in that context. Yet within this life, we only have so much energy and so much time. I would suggest
Shining your light and remembering that you have that light.
Yes.
We all have that light inside, and remembering who you are and to shine that light.
The light of God.
The light we have inside.
The light that is brighter than even 1,000 suns.
Yes.
With a narcissistic person, I would suggest that they can break free from that, because it's just a program. Everything we experience is a program. We're born like a blank computer. We have programs installed upon us. Some programs we actually receive at the manufacturing process. Some programs we take on from our ancestors. We absorb that information through our DNA, through our blood, and we carry it forward. I would say that unless the desire to break free from that program is stronger than the desire for life itself, that there would be no requirement for a narcissist to ever break free from their narcissistic tendencies. They are narcissistic because it brings them energy. Everything that we do fundamentally is done by the egoic self and by the subconscious mind to keep us safe, first of all, and then to gain some form of happiness. A narcissistic person is safe because they are ensuring that they are dominant over everybody else, that they're the top of the pack, as it were. And then they gain happiness by taking other people's happiness, by taking from somebody else. Unless they were removed and their very existence was threatened, I do not see any reason for them to change. But I know that they can change. I know that anything that is programmed can be unprogrammed. So I would suggest that if somebody does know somebody close to them, or in a relationship with somebody that is narcissistic in tendency, that you must put yourself first, that you must actually separate from them and go your own way. You must disattach that energy cord from them and separate and go your own path. And that they will only do the work if they desire to, greater than their requirement or desire for life itself.
Right, because we're not God, and we can't fix anyone. We're not in control. We have to leave that up to them and up to God. So. With the narcissist, they're not going to admit there's anything wrong with them.
No, and that's what I mean.
So they don't usually go for help. But the sad part is they don't feel the peace and happiness and love that we feel inside. They're not whole. They don't feel whole. So it's sad, and they're always trying to fill that void. And
Perfect. Diana, we're going to bring a close to today's show. Thank you so much for being on the episode today and for everything that you do. And everybody, make sure you go over and follow and connect on all of her socials, and head over to Mainstream Meditation, listen to her most recent guided meditation. And until we speak again, thank you for everything you do and for who you are. I love you. And I will speak.
My pleasure. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you for everything.
We'll speak soon.
Okay. Take care.
You too.
Amazing. Thank you all for listening and being part of my journey, as always, as I am part of yours. Thank you, Diana, for being this week's guest and for being part of everything that we are creating in the world of equality for all. Once again, if you have not yet done so, head over to YouTube and subscribe to Kosmic Surfer and Mainstream Meditation. And until the next episode of Midday Mindfulness, stay mindful, question everything, and then analyze and question it again. Don't get caught in trying to pick apart everything, but next time you have a negative thought, ask yourself why, if it is rational, if it's going to serve you, and if it's going to actually affect you in future. Is it going to be affecting me in an hour's time, a day's time, a week's time, however far forward you need to get until you know that it will no longer be affecting you, and then just decide to actually let go of it now, because why not? If it's not going to be affecting you in a week's time, you may as well just let it go now. Infinite blessings to each and every one of you. And as always, now and forever, we are in this together. United we stand, and together we rise. Peace, love, infinite blessings. Namaste.